You know what time it is. Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Ran Hurt, resident AP, plays mid and his eyes are shady. Got a syndrome, can't nerf it. You can find him in the chat, type of worth it. And that's Hornet, stuck in ill hell. Thought it was going up, once again it fell. Never spent a single dime alone. And if you step into his jungle, expect a brawl. Offlander, math specialist. He's precise, doesn't tolerate estimates. The man's addicted by every hero. You can tell cause his bank account's stuck at zero. And last but not least, your host Pornophobia. Picks an 80 carry, and he's on ya. He's got the full mount, ground and pound. Don't get excited, it's not as sexy as it sounds. That's your whole team, enjoy the podcast. Put your headphones on, we'll have a blast. We're checking email and Twitter, of course. Just don't ask us how four guys make a Triforce.
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast, episode 24. My name is Pornophobia. We are live tonight with, of course, all my friends. I have Auslander. Please say hi for me.
Don't tell me what to do.
You sound so enthused.
Yeah, what's up, everyone?
And Ran Hurt, my other co-host.
He did ask nicely.
Well, he was supposed to scream, "Don't tell me what to do!" But he, hurt his arm today, and he's a little pussy about it, so...
That happens.
He wouldn't ice it at work. He was like, "I have long sleeves on." Oh. And Hornet, you're here too. Again.
Muted.
2 weeks in a row, Hornet mutes his mic and doesn't say anything when I introduce him. So we'll just move on until he decides to unmute his microphone. And we have a special guest this week, Badministrator.
Hello, everyone.
He is also very enthusiastic. So, as you guys heard in the very beginning, we have a new intro, and I hope you all can guess who did that. Some very special guy by the name of Badministrator, who is, again, with us this week. So, I hope you all enjoyed that. That'll be our intro from now on. Sans Ran Hurt talking with his awesome East Coast accent.
What? East Coast accent?
Oh,
Baltimore, Maryland,
Yeah. Oh, Baltimore on...
He sounds like Stan Belcheck, pretty much, so...
Alright, hon.
So, of course, you guys can always check us out over on GG Chronicle. It's ggc.leaguecraft.com. We are the official podcast of Leaguecraft and GG Chronicle, and so if you're watching live right now, you'll see we have a brand new scene, and that was made by Vesca Violet. He does the stuff for blgaming.com. You can find him at Vesca Violet on Twitter, or at vescaviolet.deviantart.com. I will have those links in the video /podcast when I bring it up tomorrow. So, how is everyone doing tonight?
Doing great, man. New song, new scene there. Everything's looking really good. We're starting to move up in the world. Pretty fun.
Well, it only helps to yell at Badministrator for 3 days in a row and tell him we need a song. And then he tells us to fuck off and steals our blue.
Ha.
Yes. Oh, so is that coming true, dude? You're just not going to talk at all this entire podcast?
I can talk. What do you want me to say? Come on.
I just want you to interject like you're one of the guys. That's all. Because it looks like Hornet's mic might be broken, so you're going to have to fill in the slot of the fourth co-host for this week.
I can do it.
All right, I think we should just say, while we're on the topic of that introduction, legitimately from conception to final product, how long did that take?
From conception to final product, probably 2 hours, I would say.
I mean, that is impressive.
Yeah, that would take me 30 years, and I used to be a musician. It's really, really tremendous.
Well, thank you. I don't like compliments, so it's not going to go well if you guys keep doing that.
I think I'm just going to sit here and compliment you the entire podcast. Dude, you are so good at this. Oh my god. So do you want to talk about your music? Oh, it's so great. Remember that Cho'Gath song? The best you ever did.
Yep.
Oh, there's Hornet. Hornet, you there now?
Oh, I might have fixed it. Holy shit.
Oh my god.
Duct tape does it all.
I think you...
Badminton, you suck. I mean, there. Does that make you feel better? I was just wondering.
You suck too, man. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh,
By the way, while I get this in, Auslander, I thought you played soccer and ran. So how the fuck did you hurt your arm? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I was doing push-ups, so I learned a valuable lesson today, is not to actually do anything good for your body. I'm just going to sit around and eat jelly beans and potato chips going forward.
Well, when you're your age, things start to break down,
Ooh, yeah.
You have to start taking, calcium supplements.
How many torn rotator cuffs do you have? And we're gonna throw stones?
4.5. No, just maybe 2.
Yeah.
It's not very.
God,
Just 2? Yeah, I think it might be more than that. You just haven't counted.
Yeah.
Or just don't know.
I would throw stones, but I can't with my shoulder.
Literally cannot throw stones.
you could probably kick them. I'm assuming maybe one will hit us or something.
I don't know. My hip's all banged up too. So.
I feel like I'm in a room with a bunch of old men.
Yeah.
I did MMA
I'm
and
to sit here and play law, which I'm not very good at either. That'll work too.
Can you click? Can you actually? Do you have full range of motion with that arm there that you can actually move across the map?
Yeah, until the carpal tunnel flares up. Anything else?
That's what the giant size are. Fuck my hand. So I have to talk about Stack Exchange. I mean, I don't have to. I want to. But Stack Exchange is actually, they did the whole GT Classic tournament. They gave away a solid state drive and a monitor this last time, and we have the winners finally. And Thizzle71 won the most viewed question, so I don't know which product he won. I'm assuming the solid state drive. And Diotronic, who we have seen in some battle arenas, actually won with the highest voted category. So Stack Exchange did a fantastic job of providing those prizes and running a great site. I don't know if anyone else has been on the site as much as I have, but I'm pretty much there every single day.
I've definitely been there more than a few times, and let me say it's the best place you can go where you have that dumb question that you're too afraid to ask, but you will get the answer to it. And it's I have a few, trust me, just stupid things that I didn't know about certain champions, and let me just say that even those get those questions in there because it's a great place, and even if you can search it, because you'd be surprised as to your question may have already been asked and you may have thought it was it may not have been the perfect thing to ask, but you may actually find the answer to it. So I would highly suggest that at least stopping by once. It's definitely a good database of knowledge now that we've really given it some plug, and it's really taken off. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, fantastic. You can go on there and actually ask why Badministrator doesn't release a song every week. Someone might be able to answer for you.
Because he's not answering, he's not going to talk about it.
So, I'm trying to get him to say something. So, I actually kind of want to do a little interview with you, Badmin. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, sure.
So,
make it happen.
So, first, tell me about your personal life. How old? No, I'm kidding. How old are you? Where do you work? What's your name, address, social security number?
I'll answer how old I am. I'm 29. That's all you get.
You're 29, and I hear you're just an Irish guy who lives at home with his wife and a couple dogs. Is that true?
All true, yep. Those are the things that I do, and then I make songs for the internet, and that's pretty much it. That's my whole life, and I go to work a lot, and then I come home.
I was going to say, now, where are you from? Because you definitely do have an accent that comes out in the songs and comes out when you talk.
I have an accent? I've never heard that before.
Yes, you
do.
You do, definitely.
I'm from New York State, but not the city.
That's why. Okay. I just from a different occupation or hobby that I do, I run into a lot of New Yorkers, a lot of New Jersey, and I wondered if that was where the accent was coming from, but I couldn't quite pin it down, so I figured I'd ask, find out for sure.
That's right.
We're influenced by Canada a little bit up here. I'm relatively close to Canada, so it sneaks in some of the Canadian pronunciations and things.
As long as you're not ending things with A. I'm actually
not say A.
Yeah, I'm actually from Michigan, so I have a very whiny accent, and a lot of people wonder why I'm down in Kentucky with this accent. Where the hell are you from? You're not from down here, boy. I hear that a lot.
I don't think that I recognize accents because none of you guys sound like you have an accent to me. So.
What, you can't hear Ranhert's blaring accent through that? Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Are you guys being serious or are you trolling me? 'Cause honestly, I
think they're
hear
trolling
no
me, to be
accents.
honest with you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No.
I don't know. Like, I actually grew up 70 miles south of Philadelphia in Maryland. And I went to school in Philly, and when I was up there, some of the guys in the dorm that were from Philly were actually telling me that I had a southern accent. I was like, what are you talking about? I've never heard that, and I'm 70 miles south of here. It takes me an hour and a half to get to school. What the hell? It's interesting, but I guess it doesn't take long to get to an accent. I don't know.
I have to say, whiny accent never applied better to Pwn now that I think about it.
Yeah, see, perfect. I
Just
whine,
saying.
Ranhert sighs. It's just what we do. It's part of my personality.
It also explains why you're drunk, but we'll get not on the right Kentucky things, obviously.
Not off a boxed wine, no.
Yeah, they don't.
You said it was a bottle.
It was a bottle.
If it's box wine, I'm going to start calling you St. Fish's Jr.
No, God, please no. I don't want to be lumped into the same category as him ever.
Franzia's finest.
Well, you know, even if it's bottled, I could be drinking some like Boone's Farm or some other $3 bottle of wine. I'm a cheap drunk. Just take me out a date, give me a cheap thing of Boone's Farm. I'm good to go, guys.
If I ever see Arbor Mist in your hand, I might come down and shoot.
I was going to say we need to contact Arbor Mist and get them to sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, really.
No, who was it? Oscillator wanted me to drink Zima today.
Oh God, does that even still exist?
I probably not, but that was more his speed, I thought.
The whiny speed, is that what you're saying?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Badministrator, you a drinker at all?
I'm not. No, I don't really drink. No, just at parties.
Just
and I just drink at parties, and I only really drink hard liquor. So.
Oh, I think you and Ranhert would get along just fine.
Dude, what?
Nah, he seems like a dick, honestly.
Ranhert's as big as a lush as I am. He just can't drink as heavily now because of too many years of partying.
Yeah, it's still pretty heavy though. Mine not heavy. It's still pretty heavy. So that's okay.
No, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable, dude. We definitely dog on each other the entire time here, so don't take anything we say personally. Except
and he knows because he actually listens to our podcast.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, that was actually kind of funny. We to give a little history about us, we actually contacted Badman because we were stealing his songs and putting them in the end of our podcast, and then we said, you know, we need to contact this guy and make sure he's cool with it. And it was before like anyone listening. I think it was like our first 3 episodes.
Yeah, it was like the first I think episode 6 or something was the last time I used a Badman song.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, I see on Twitter that he's following us on Twitter, and then you know, saying some nice things about us. So I was like, hey, we should contact Badministrator and see if he'd be willing to do an intro song for us. And like 2 hours later, I'm listening to the freaking thing. Like, what the hell? This is amazing. So that was really cool. Well done.
This is some serious talent, I gotta tell you, because I'm with Auslander. It would have taken me a lifetime to ever come up with, you know, this is me who listened to rap in my younger days for like ever and ever, and loves the guy, you know, appreciates who's really good at it. And let me tell you, you're freaking talented at it.
All right.
Yeah, be careful. He doesn't take compliments.
Yeah, we can't compliment him. It's just.
What are you supposed to say when someone says something like that to you? What if I came on your radio show and I was just like, "This is such a great radio show. It's so good."
Thank you.
I would soak it up and say,
I would say we were just saying
wouldn't
that.
have
Slander.
You would really need to ask how to be not gracious and boost the ego and like puff out the chest. Yeah, you can go to Ranher and you can figure out exactly how it's done. I'm just telling you. It's
I only listen to you guys at work because you're slightly more tolerable than work. So.
Oh. Face.
All right, I'll ask a decent question. So, when did you start doing the rap? Did you start with when League of Legends came out? Did you do anything prior to League of Legends, or were you just inspired by the game to try it out?
That's an amazing question. I actually have never rapped before my first League of Legends song. So, Urgot song on YouTube, first thing I ever tried to rap in my life.
That's very cool.
It took about an hour and a half, I would say.
So what was it about
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what was it about like the game that made you just decide I'm gonna try and rap about this?
I am the sort of person who just decides to do something and do it. I don't think it was anything specific about League of Legends. I wanted to make a song, and I didn't feel like getting like 9 mics out and miking up instruments and like doing a rock song or anything like that at the time. So I was like, well, maybe I'll try to make a rap song. And I found it's funny. I mean, I've written this story on YouTube before, but the beat from the Urgot song is something that I had heard a bunch of times when I worked at Best Buy with a kid who just listened to that song, the song that the beat is from, like 24 hours a day, all day, every day. So it was like the only rap song that I knew because I don't listen to rap at all. All the rap songs I know are from before 1995 or things that I randomly heard at that point. So I was like, I'll just take this beat and make a song out of it, and it was pretty cool.
This eliminated like half my questions. I was going to ask like who influenced you, which rapper, and it's like House of Pain maybe. I can't even think of one before 1995 at the moment.
No,
Vanilla Ice.
The only rap songs that I know the lyrics to are probably Dr. Dre songs from like The Chronic when that was really big when I was a kid, and I know Regulate. obviously. And let's see.
No Ice Cube? You don't want to gangster rap?
Ice Cube? I probably could. Well, I know it was a good day. I parodied that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know that one. But no, like as soon as like I would say as soon as I turned 13, I probably never heard another rap song until like last year.
Wow.
I actually think it's kind of nice because it's like when you listen to his songs or Badministrator songs, it's like they all seem like new. There's no like I'm trying to make it sound like this song or even if the beats are reused, which I can't tell that many of them are, if any, that it's still new. It's completely fresh and it's not like a straight League of Legends parody, which I think there is room for that, and there's some entertaining ones out there, but that's really hard to keep up with. And the fact that you're putting out, fresh new content and songs is really cool. It's definitely enjoyable to listen to, and everyone that's listening here should just go ahead and subscribe to his YouTube page because he does put out songs fairly often, including one that's going to be released tonight.
Ooh, little teaser.
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to release it until the weekend. But you guys are going to put it on the podcast at the end, I heard, so people can hear it, I guess, tonight or hear it tomorrow when you actually post the show. On the topic of the beats and things like that, I actually do sample pretty much all of the beats from real songs or use a karaoke version or whatever, but the reason that some of them don't sound like the songs that they come from is because most of the time I've never actually heard the real song before I record, because I kind of just look online for beats and things that I like, and I would say that probably 80% of my songs I never listened to the real song until after I was done making my version. So in the strictest sense, I would say that they're not parodies, which probably makes them completely illegal. But they are about League of Legends, so they are kind of parodies. I don't know. I don't make any money off of any of the songs that I make, so I don't think that it's that big of a deal. But obviously, if somebody asked me to take something down, I would.
Now, tell me which characters, like, what give you influence. Like, for instance, your first one was Urgot, but then I know you've done others where, it seems that you've taken, gameplay things or things that you've seen or things that you've actually particularly done, and I'm kind of curious as to what's influenced you for certain characters, as to which ones you've really enjoyed and what really inspired you to do it.
Unfortunately for me, I only play a very small amount of champions. I own most of them because I've played so much. I just have so much IP that I just buy champions all the time. But like for instance, every top lane champion that I've ever made a song about, I pretty much have never played, maybe once on some of them. I don't play top lane at all, so all the bruisers, Renekton and Nasus and Aurelia and like all of them, I just never played them before. So everything in the songs is just me talking out of my ass. The reason the Renekton Nasus song is all about lore is because I literally don't even know how to play them. I mean, I kind of know what they do from seeing them in game, but I wouldn't know like what to say about them, or like I wouldn't be able to put myself in the shoes of somebody playing as them, which is how I write my songs, first person view, like I am Nasus, here I go, But the lore was a lot more straightforward. As far as like, I mean, you could tell which champs I play because they're my first songs. So I played in season 1 when I was ranking up and I was playing ranked games. I played Urgot and I played Xin and I played Lux and I played Singed. And you can look at my songs and see those are the champions I was doing songs about. I ran out of champions that I actually play a really long time ago. And Ryze is the champion I play the most now, so I did a song for him recently, and Cassiopeia, but pretty much every other song is champions that I don't really know very much about and how to play, and the only song I really wrote from the perspective of playing poorly is Annie, because I did try to play Annie for a few days, and I was so horrific that I actually wrote a song. I wrote a song from Annie to me about how bad I was at Annie. I don't know if you guys have heard that one, but that's what that song is. That's the motivation behind that song. It's a song about how terrible I am at Annie. It's what I imagine her saying to me as I play.
Funny.
That's hilarious. Love that.
Sorry. I expected Hornet to continue going on with that because it sounded like you just had 100 questions to go.
No, I was participating as normal, and trying to engage. You know,
Well, no,
as a
no,
normal-
no. You were saying, "Oh man, I had so many questions," and they killed it. I guess I should have went.
Yeah,
with
I killed them. I took them all with one question, apparently.
that. No, that's awesome. So, if you don't mind sticking around, I think we're going to run into actually some, test your game knowledge here. How's that, Badman?
That's fine. I'm definitely better than you guys. So.
Oh wow, the ego on this guy.
Well done.
guys
There's the
said,
Reinhardt syndrome coming out.
You guys said that. Yeah, you were not made of glass. So I'm going to destroy you.
Well, some of us are. I don't take them very well. I'm probably going to go cry after this and drink some more boxed wine. So.
No, we're not. We're going to go play.
Yeah, you're right. So actually, Cody is a very avid listener, and he sent in a voicemail. However, I don't have it queued up. But he did ask us, where do you guys see League of Legends going? And what kind of changes would you like to see made? And if any of you guys want to take the floor with that one, go for it.
Does the guest want to take it first? Or, Auslander, please.
Yeah, well, mine's easy. I mean, I would like actually less changes made. I wish, it's been nice the last couple of weeks that the patches have been kind of delayed, so you have a little more time to play with the build, and that's like the change I wish they would do. I mean, I know obviously it's a business and they're trying to make money, so they have to keep pumping out, new champs and whatnot, but it would be nice to just have a month or two stretch where we were all playing on the same build and things were countered naturally as opposed to steal a Badministrator song, just nerfing Aurelia instead of maybe somebody just figuring it out. Granted, she's been a problem for a while, or at least a strong champion for a while. But it would be nice, just have a nice long stretch, which I don't foresee coming. But that's where I would like to see it go, where kind of gameplay develops over a period of a few months as opposed to like every 2 weeks everything kind of gets turned upside down.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. I mean, it's one of those things where we see the new champs, and the new champs are great, and they generate revenue for Riot, and they're fun to play and try out and things. And obviously, a new champ that comes out is probably going to have balance issues of some sort, unless they really nail down all the testing and the design of the champion. So, there's obviously going to be some issues and tweaks that are going to be needed for new champs, either buffs or nerfs. Unless they really, like I said, did their homework and got it perfect right off the bat. But we do see a lot of changes to champs. We know that there's certain champs that maybe quote unquote OP and may need some changes. And a lot of the changes you can look at in the patch notes and say, well, that was exactly what was needed, or maybe we were hit a little too hard. But then the patch notes are flooded with a lot of other changes that we don't necessarily see coming. Really aren't the result of great play of that champion or some other things, and it may just be quality of life changes and other things. But when you're nerfing new champions or buffing new champions, and you have a lot of moving pieces, those other champions that need those quality of life changes probably didn't need them because they're now being brought back into the fold by changes to other champions. So I think some of those things could probably stop happening. They could just leave things status quo with a lot of the champions and let them come back into the fold on their own.
I will say that, excuse me, there's two things that I'd like to see, and they've already been. One of them I know came on the forums recently, and that is where's the replay system? I'm really tired of having to use a secondary program that on some patches will break to actually go through our replays, and even then, like, if you want to see health bars of everybody, you have to have 5 replay logs of everybody's team, and you can't review. So I think that's a big thing that I'd like to see actually happen. The second thing is, there's so many times where we're going through champions, and as Reinhardt was saying, there's a cycle that seems to happen, but yet I'm watching so many champions like fall off the map and feel like they're not coming back in any type of major role. I'm talking about a Kale or there's some others, like they brought back Shen, and I thought that was great. I thought that made Shen a really neat, powerful character again to play, and even to the point where we're seeing him be banned. And then Dr. Mundo came back naturally, but then there was supposed to be an entire stealth remake that was been at some point and never happened, and I don't know if we're ever going to see it. I don't know.
Oh, there it goes. I've kind of figured Hornets might cut out here. The duct tape's not holding up, so I'll continue the conversation to say I'm looking for quality of life stuff with the game. Replay system, win of the day timer. I think that's coming out here in the next patch or so. Or so I've seen screenshots of. The mastery pages are a nice one, having them stored server side along with the runes, and not to mention, like when you're in champ select and someone AFKs and it randomly picks a champ, it should just boot them instead and put you right back in the queue. When it gives them a random champ if they're there and they didn't get actually timed out or anything. So just a few off the top of my head. I don't want to see the game progress as in more champions, and I like to see tweaks and whatnot, but I don't think we need the every 3-week patch like we've been having if they just start working on a lot of the quality of life things.
Yeah, I think another thing, if we're going to really kind of look outside the box, not so much into the game, but just the game as a whole, compared to other games that might be coming out, and like Dota 2, and really the future of League of Legends. And I think it's really in a strong position. I don't really think it's going anywhere. They're probably going to lose some players to Dota 2. I'm sure they probably will. But the whole model of spending all this money on champs, if you do spend money on champs and skins and things, really, at least for me, provides like an investment. I'm really bought into this game, and I'm not really looking at other games to kind of move off to. And the fact that there's always a constantly moving meta and new champions to play and things of that nature keeps me coming back and keeps me playing. On the same vein, though, I'm not really interested in seeing new maps. I know I see a lot of talk on Reddit about, where was that, I forget what it's called, like the volcano,
Magma Chamber?
Yeah, Magma Chamber, there you go, the Magma Chamber map. And it's there's a reason why no one plays, Twisted Treeline for the most part, and there's a reason why nobody plays Dominion for the most part. It's not that the game modes aren't that fun, because I actually kind of like Twisted Treeline, but it's the fact that it's just not the standard MOBA structure that we like, that League of Legends was modeled after, the Dota map with the 3 lanes and everything else. So it's kind of like we should stay on the same playing field. Soccer fields are the same; they're never changing, but the teams are always changing with new talent and stuff. And I think this is the same way.
Man, I don't. That's funny that you guys have a lot of weird perspectives that I definitely don't share. As far as the maps go, I kind of agree with you that it's kind of pointless to make new maps. The maps in the game, people, like you said, you don't want to change the whole game. Like, you don't change the chessboard and make it bigger. So add-on maps, while they're fun, are really just a fun thing. Like, I play Dominion sometimes with friends, just to screw around and maybe practice a champion that I've never played before, or something that something I wouldn't want to do in a normal game, or play AD Annie or be crazy. But I don't think there's any problem with putting out new maps. I doubt that the people making maps are taking away from anything else. I don't know. Magma Chamber sounded very odd to me, though. I agree with you. I don't really see the appeal of having a giant 10v10 map. I think that the game itself is already so disjointed. Like, say you're in top lane. Sometimes you're in top lane. You play the entire game. Your team loses. You and the other guy in top lane never left top lane, right?
Right.
I can only imagine that being worse in Magma Chamber, with a way more giant map where you have to teleport around. This is how they were describing it, where you would have multiple checkpoints that you can move between and things like that. That just does not sound appealing. If anything, people want smaller maps, more action, not bigger maps. People always say we want strategy. We only care about strategy. We want to be able to. We don't want the whole game to depend on Twitch ability and your ability to move quickly and think fast. We'd like overall huge overarching strategies, but what they really mean is that they want that for pro play and tournament play. In the real game, most people don't think that much at all. I mean, you can see the average elo is I think that Riot said before, it was 1050. At 1050 elo, if you play a game at 1050 elo, and anybody who does, people even at 1050 elo will tell you that most of the people they're playing with are not thinking about strategy at all. Which means that most of the people who play League of Legends don't really care about strategy at all. They just want to play the game. They want it to be fun, and it is more fun when it's smaller, which is why I imagine Riot thought Dominion would be a bigger hit than it is. But unfortunately, they were kind of burned by their own game mode in the like you said, the history of MOBAs. I'd never played Dota, so I think I gave Dominion a better shot than most people did. But anyways, so what I would change about LoL is first of all, I would nerf faster champions that are blatantly overpowered. I know people say, oh, it's too hard to nerf. The Evelynn nerf, I thought was fine. They killed her, right? She was completely ridiculous. She got banned every single game, and they were like, screw Evelynn. Nobody's playing her ever again, right? If they would have done that and then incrementally buffed her until she was playable again, that would have been fine. And I really think that they should do that. Instead of having a completely broken champ that gets picked every game, just over-nerf them and then buff them little by little until people start playing them again and then stop. There's no reason you can't do that, and it really wouldn't be that hard. You can tweak one tiny thing at a time until they're playable. The Shen buff, you guys were just talking about the Shen buff, it was too large. It was kind of ridiculous. Shen, I don't know if you guys played Shen before that. Nobody really played him. But there wasn't really a reason because he won top lane against like half of the top lane champions. It's just that nobody happened to play Shen. He fell off late game as far as damage goes. So people are looking for damage from top lane, so people stopped playing Shen. But he always had the global. His entire kit was the same. They just buffed everything, and he became an unstoppable killing machine for like 2 weeks until they nerfed him a little bit. But he's still kind of ridiculous, and you still kind of have to ban him, like if you're playing against somebody who can play him. So I don't really like the giant buff small nerf. I prefer the giant nerf small buffs, and they don't do that enough, I don't think. Like Vlad, well, first of all, there's champions in the game that can't be fixed, and Vlad's one of them. You either make him unplayable or you make him overpowered ridiculous, and that's just how he is. They need to stop making champs like that. People with untargetable abilities, Fizz, Vlad, people who leave the map in any kind of realistic way, like who can lose aggro from the tower. Losing aggro from the tower is like the worst mechanic in the game. You shouldn't be able to go into tower and start getting hit and drop aggro without leaving tower range and then just stand there. That's probably that's my biggest pet peeve, I think, in the entire game. Champs that do that. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I would definitely change losing tower aggro, abilities that lose tower aggro or phase you out of the map for a short period of time.
I think the problem with that, though, is a lot of people want those champions that have these crazy, abilities. Is it Zephyrius? I think that's how you say his name. He designed Fizz, he's designed Nautilus, and he may even design Vlad, if I remember correctly. And he's the one who always has these crazy champions that just, do the things that you don't see any of the other champions do, or they pick up skills from other champions. And at that point, people love him because these champions are so crazy. But like you said, how do you balance those when it comes to the major the overarching game?
Really not so much as balancing, but I'm sorry. It's how do you release a new champ that has a unique play style and ability set without, making them completely overpowered just by abilities alone. We see a lot of champs that come out with like tons of hard CC or ridiculous escape mechanisms that older champs never really had, and it's almost that they came out that way because they were running out of things to do. With all these champs that we have, it's hard to really make unique champions. And I think that's kind of the trap that they're falling into, is that they're feeling the need to keep releasing new champs to bring in revenue, but they're running out of ideas, and so they're just building upon some of the other kits that are out there, or making completely new kits a la Fizz that are just kind of broken, or they're just in the right hands broken.
Yeah,
so I didn't mean to cut you off, dude.
That's all right. Not even as much broken though as it is anti-fun to play against Fizz. You can beat Fizz because he's melee, but he's burst damage. So the thing about it is if he gets one kill early, you lose the lane. You have to have the jungle babysit you. And Fizz, if you're below 3/4 health, can kill you in your own tower if he lands his ultimate, which is just absurd. And it's the same thing with Vlad. If he gets a little bit of a lead on you, and it's only compounded by the fact that he's unkillable. But you guys are saying they want those champs that are fun. They want the champs that do crazy stuff. I think Akali is a really good example of a champion that does crazy things, that jumps all over the map, that's just absurd, has really high damage, but is balanced because of the fact that while she goes invisible, you could have oracles, you could pink ward her, you can walk away until she shows up again. You can do things that counter that. Whereas, Vlad, if Vlad gets his Zonias, Now he's untargetable for like 4 seconds straight in a team fight while his ult is on and everybody's doing extra damage to you. And that's just, I don't know. That's just it seems a little bit unfair when you're playing against Vlad. A lot of the pros, even though Vlad doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, he does do a lot of damage end game. And the pros don't like him because he comes in, he hits you with R, he Qs somebody, he pulls. If you focus him, he Zonias. He comes out of Zonias and he hits you again. By the time that, in 4 seconds, in a realistic game where everybody is really good at the game and is organized, in 4 seconds, the team fight is pretty much over. So Vlad gets all of his burst off and can't be hit for the amount of time that it takes the team fight to pretty much end if he doesn't want to be. So he requires you to focus him, but he can't be focused at the same time. And that's why, for instance, TSM ran him in the finals, and Dyrus completely destroyed the game, because all you have to do is stay even with Vlad, and then he's better than like every other champ in the game end game, just because of that. You can't stop him from doing what he wants to do. And I don't know, I think that what you said about Riot is true. They want to make champs that are unique. I just think that they do that by putting in things that they think people will like and want to buy that are maybe a little bit too ridiculous. I think Orianna's a really good example, another good example of a champion that's unique but isn't necessarily overpowered just in a theoretical way. You can imagine Orianna being in a good place, but I just can't even imagine Vlad being viable but not overpowered. I can't even think of a way to do it, honestly. And that's why people say, well, what would you do? And you draw a blank, You can do the same thing with Fizz. If he has enough damage to kill you with his abilities, then he's overpowered, because he always is going to have the ability to drop tower aggro. So if you take away his damage, then he can't do anything. If you leave it in, he tower dives you from full health at like level 6, and you're screwed.
Well, in that light, let's just stick to Fizz here, or we can do Vladimir too, as they are untargetable. By the way, Hornet, your mic is working now. Just letting you know that you did fix it.
Nice. Okay.
So, going with it, what if you just made the change that you make Fizz and Vlad so they can still get hit by the tower, even though that they use their Playful Trickster or Pool or whatever, but they can't get hit by like global alts like Karthus or something. Now, in your opinion, do you think that would make them more balanced when it comes to early game and laning phase?
In fact, I think it would make them completely useless, and I wouldn't even go that far. Honestly, if it was up to me, I would say that they continue getting shot at by the tower, but not getting hit while they're in the move, but they don't drop aggro, so the tower does not re-aggro on minions. The biggest problem with Vlad is he comes out of pool, and then he gets to hit you again before the tower even shoots at him. So if he does it right as a tower shot comes out, he has another like full second until the tower shoots again, because the tower, it has a specific attack speed. And if he does it at the right timing, he can hit you with Q and auto you and not even take tower damage and then just walk out. And it's just like you can get comboed with 4 spells under the tower and he takes no tower shots. And it's because of the fact that he doesn't just not get hit, he drops aggro. It's the aggro drop that's really the problem.
Okay. No, that's definitely a way I think, that would fix him well. Unfortunately, I'm not someone that can sit there and really, it's very hard for me to look at it from an objective standpoint when it comes to those champions, because I don't play them often enough. I just see what they can do. And, it just from here, I'm thinking, what if you did this? And then, someone else can come back in those points. And I'm sure that's what happens in the Riot studios. I know they had talked about some of the old champions they were going to bring out, but they weren't unique enough, or they didn't do something correct enough. They could have buffed them to do a ton of damage, but then you get to the point where they're just too overpowered. So champion design and something, it seems like a very tricky process, and something I want to know more about. And we're actually, Trinity Force is going to find more about it here in the next couple of weeks to tease another interview we're going to be doing.
The one thing I do want to say, Dyrus was completely countered in I believe it was the first game of CLG TSM. He was destroyed as Vladimir, and I was trying to remember the exact matchup, but I think it was he matched up against Hotshot GG, who was on Cho'Gath. But then the other thought of it was when Team Solo Mid played Dignitas in the winners final, and the first 2 games you notice that Dignitas banned Vladimir and then allowed Dyrus to have Vladimir. But the thing was that Voyboy was dominating that lane in the first 2 games. The third game, I thought he was actually going to dominate Vladimir because Dyrus actually got Vladimir in the third game. I thought he was going to dominate him, but they ended up changing it where he got ganked a ton, or where Voyboy was constantly being ganked by both Odd One and Reginald from center. I don't know that there was a lot of picking or banning of Vladimir for Dyrus playing him, but I don't actually believe he's that overpowered because early game, especially with the pros, it seems like all of them could get an early advantage on Vladimir in the early game. Now, I agree with you late game, he is an absolute terror. That he can't be targeted, that he affects, if he lands his ultimate in the perfect spot, which obviously a good pro really does, he destroys people. But early game, there is still an effect where you can prevent Vladimir from gaining any traction, and you can get him to not be an effective part of the game. He does become really tanky, he does deal a lot of damage, and I agree with you that, at certain points it feels like that pool should be, minimized with the amount of time that it's under, that he is untargetable. But at the same time, the more that I'm coming to think about it, he still can be countered early game.
Well, he doesn't win against hardly anyone early game. So you're really talking about Vladimir's potential to kill people and do anything in lane, probably from level 9 on, against anybody decent. And obviously you can focus a lane with you can bring your jungler up and screw somebody over if you feel like it. You can camp them all day. But demanding that much attention is just another way for the other team to get a lead, and you can sit up there and kill him over and over, but every time you're on the map as the jungler, especially top, if you're, say you're the blue side and you're at the top, or anybody who's at the top trying to shut down Vlad, really, as soon as you get seen top, if you're up there long enough, you have to camp up there, you're going to get the dragon stolen from you. One ward counters any gank top also, basically. Especially, well, depending on what side of the map you're on, it's a little bit different. But blue side, one ward generally counters. You can't really go through tower at early levels to gank. So, it's just, I don't know. I would say that making somebody come up to shut you down is kind of winning the battle top. You don't want to have to get a lot of ganks as top to win. And and Vlad is hard to gank too. I mean, you can come in with a gank and it just doesn't work most of the time because he's going to have Ghost. He has the troll pool, so unless you have a lot of hard CC, maybe a couple flashes, you can catch up to him and grab him with something. It's just, I don't know how many of you guys jungle. I think only one of you jungle, like Auslander is the only one who jungles, right?
Hornet does.
So
I'm the one who jungles.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so you know how hard it is to gank Vlad then.
I understand how hard it is to gank him, but I guess what my point is that if you prevent him from farming early in lane, even if you don't kill him, it still can be a good snowball effect where you can get a 20 to 30 CS lead by the time you get to level 10, and where he can be effective and he can do damage that really affects you. And I believe that can be the effective tool that is needed to have that top lane, whether it's like a Lee Sin or an Udyr or somebody else, where they can get the distinct advantage, and then they're the more effective player more effective player going through the process of as the game progresses. I think if you can get a 20 to 30 CS lead early on Vladimir, he can be taken out of being effective to the point of where the team fights and the fights for dragons and other things start. And I don't think you have to pay that much attention to him. I think 1 or 2 visits top as a jungler can be enough.
It hasn't been my experience. I hate to pick on Vlad. I don't think he's that overpowered as I'm making him seem like I think he is. You guys just keep counterpointing me, so I just feel like I have to back up my point. I think that Vlad would need a very slight nerf to be in line with everybody else. And honestly, I don't even think it would be on his laning. I think that his scaling into late game is the problem. And if he's going to be untargetable for 2 to 4 seconds when he picks up Zhonya's, then he can't do as much damage as he does with his ult. And I think it's just the compound effect of his ult and other people doing damage and everything while he's not, he can't die. That's the problem. Even if he's not farmed up, his ult does has a lot of utility in a team fight by you put that debuff on everybody, and then you disappear. And if people want to target you, I mean, you have to go in close. That ult doesn't have a lot of range. It's one of the good things about it. The way they balance him out is by not letting him like shoot that 20 miles away. But at the same time, if he hits Ghost right when he ults you and then pulls out, he's gone. So it doesn't really change the fact that you're not going to kill him, and he gets the free ult on you. So, but yeah, I mean, just a really tiny buff or a really tiny nerf would be fine. I don't think that you need to remove his pool or anything crazy like that. It's just I think it's hard for Riot to put him in a place. Last time they nerfed him, he didn't get nerfed that much, and people deemed him unplayable. It's kind of like with Shen, you nerf him a little bit, and then everyone says you can't play him ever again. And that was kind of my point. It's hard for them to put those people in a place where they don't unfairly insta-give you, but at the same time, people will still play them.
What are your thoughts on on the same vein, Morgana? She's kind of when you have the black shield, you can't be CC'd at all. You can just pretty much walk through anything, and once she gets the Zhonya's plus her ult, she's kind of got that same feel. Like it's just so safe to do a lot of damage and bring a lot of utility to your team, and it's really, really hard to stop her from farming or gank her, kill her, or even disrupt her.
Yeah, you can tell that when Riot builds a support, they don't really test them as AP while they're doing play testing very much, because every support that comes out, or every champion that's intended to be support that gets played in a solo lane completely destroys everyone until they figure out what to do. I don't know if you guys played much when Alistar, people started playing solo lane top Alistar, and it was like, it was completely absurd. And it was because before that, nobody was playing Alistar top because they were like, oh, Alistar's support, we don't play him top. Same thing happened with Soraka. Same thing happened with Janna. Same thing happened with Morgana. All of these champions have seen huge nerfs. Janna to the shield multiple times. I don't know if you played when Janna's shield used to be like twice as good. And now it doesn't even give you the damage buff after it's been knocked off of you, which is like I guess it's the nail on the coffin for the Janna shield. But it used to be like twice as powerful to begin with. But yeah, I mean, if you list off all the support champs, every time somebody's played them solo lane, any viable support champ has become like a gigantic monster in the solo lane.
Absolutely, because Lulu's followed that, by the way, I have to say.
Yes, she has.
Hey, Karma.
Yeah.
Karma's only the funny thing is Karma's a support, right? But you can really only play her in the solo lane in a viable sort of way. I mean, you might not agree. Like, you can play Karma in low elo wherever you play anybody you want, wherever you want. But solo lane is the only place where she really shines because she needs the AP, and when she has it, you really can't die as Karma when you have a lot of AP. So yeah, I think that as far as the supports go and mid goes, it's the same thing every single time, and it's the same thing with Lulu. They just they put them all bottom and test them out down there, and they don't realize how crazy their abilities are going to be when they put them mid.
I think most of that's got to be due to they're trying to scale their skills such that they aren't really leveling up that great, and they're not really affording all the great items and things that they're not going to get because they're support and not CSing as much. I guess they're probably taking all the gold per 10 and gold per 5 and stuff into consideration, but I mean, so it kind of makes sense that they would think of it that way, but I don't know how you make a champion that you're intending to be a support and so therefore scales a little bit faster than many of the other champions, but then if they scale faster than other champions, then they're going to scale really great in a mid lane or in a solo lane.
Yeah, I think Janna's actually the best example of how they did a pretty good job in the long run. She used to be pretty crazy, but they put her in a good place, and the reason she can play support even without gold and not really high ratios is the CC that she has, and that's what supports should have. They should have a lot of CC spells, but not have crazy scaling. And that's what they did to Alistar too. They kept nerfing and scaling until he was to the point where he couldn't be an insanely dominant solo lane, but he still has multiple CC spells. And CC doesn't always have to be the same. Like, you don't need to have a knock up and a knockback. It doesn't have to be the same for everybody. They actually have. There's a lot of CCs that could exist that don't exist in the game. Things that you would see in other games that you guys probably could imagine. Some stuff. Like Morgana's Black Shield only exists in one incarnation. Nobody else has anything like the Black Shield. In a game where you're making different incarnations of pretty much the same 5 champion types over and over and over, they could experiment probably with giving somebody another shield that does a combination, like magic block, something else has a buff on it or something. I'm just saying, like, the way you do it is by not giving them crazy scaling, by providing utility to the team. Because that's what people want in supports anyway. That's why you see so much Alistar, you see so much Janna. Janna completely dominates in the tournament without high scaling because of her ability to move the team around. And it takes really good team play. And it doesn't seem overpowered, even though she's making a huge impact.
Yeah, just that 3% from her passive for global is huge for anybody. I mean, it's a lot of times it's the difference between having boots and not having boots. And I know a lot of times when I'm playing Jen, I actually forget to buy boots because of that passive at her W.
Yeah.
I'm moving so quickly. But no, you keep talking about how much they've nerfed him into the ground. I'm wondering if they're going to kind of do the same thing with Lulu, because I like her so much. Because her Whimsy, if I remember correctly, is the one that turns them into a squirrel or a pig or whatever. And that's just, it's a different kind of CC, because you can CC the 80 carry and they can still move around. Now, I have read some things about Riot now wanting to put like sleep in there, sleep in the game instead of a stun, because I feel like it's in one of those, you know, if you like World of Warcraft, people would stun lock with a rogue, for example, and people find that anti-fun because they can't move their character for a long period of time. And I think they feel the same way about sleep. It's just an anti-fun mechanic. And so I wonder if that's stopping them from doing a lot of those things that you're talking about. Maybe a Go ahead.
What's the functional difference between like a Taric stun and what sleep would do?
I think sleep would actually stop affecting them after they get attacked, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that's the only difference between sleep and stun.
Okay. So it's not even as bad as a stun. It's kind of like if when Graves puts you in his deal and you're just kind of standing there, you can't do anything until you walk out of it.
Yeah, pretty much. Or you get hit by something.
Or you get hit by someone, right? And then you can see them again. Yeah.
Right. And it's just, I don't know, the mechanics like that, even people find stuns as anti-fun, and that's why you have to have stun scaling, you know, with them, so people aren't perma-stunned or anything, but I'm sure they have to do the same if they did sleep. So thinking about other mechanics, like say if you had a black shield that returned damage and blocked magic, people might find that, once again, anti-fun, and that turns people off. Because like you said, 1000 elo, I've definitely played down there before, and everyone's there to just play for themselves and do what they want. No one's going for global objectives, no one cares, so they're trying to pick the champions that are going to carry themselves the hardest. If they win their lane, they're happy.
Yeah, damage reflection is underused too. That's actually a good point. But you're right. I mean, the thing is, there's enough champions now that they can put out new champions with interesting abilities that high elo players can use, and they can be completely ignored at low elo, and it's not a big deal. I mean, I realize that they're going for sales. I think people buy the champion based on looks mostly when it first comes out anyway. I don't think it would affect sales that much if the skill set was a little bit strange or hard to learn. It certainly didn't when, you know, there's been champions that have come out that were hard to play that, you know, that still did well.
I'd still say Orianna is one of those champions that's, even through all the nerfs, is still hard to play because you have to control the ball. And where it goes, she's a higher skilled champion than like Morgana, for example, which is just a pool and a root.
It's funny that you bring up Orianna because when she first came out, everybody thought Orianna was actually pretty bad.
Right.
Nobody played her for a really long time, and I remember, that she actually got nerfed pretty hard right after people figured out that she was really good, and it was because I think Big Fat Gigi on one of his Smurfs went like 27-1 on her and got the Smurf like to first page on the chart. Just basically playing Orianna over and over and over, and everybody saw him doing that and was like, wow. And then you saw Orianna's all over, and they immediately nerfed her. And the range nerf on Orianna was a little bit, I think, was unfair, because when you have such a hard mechanic to land, like the ball, you know, I don't know, it just seems like you should have a little bit of extra range to deal with that. But she's a pain to lane against in all incarnations, too, because the ball just kind of sits on you or on your side and just is menacing, you know?
Right. It reminds me of like Jarvan. If you just, a lot of times, especially lower games, if you just drop the standard in the middle of the wave, no one wants to come near it because they don't really know how he works. A lot of people don't. But you know, it's like those underplayed champions that are still, they can still be good, but when people don't know how they work, they are very skittish around it, and it gives you that advantage. And I guess that's something that if people are looking for elo, you can definitely play those type of champions. Learn how to master the champions that aren't played that often, but are still considered decent.
I still remember to this day one of the matches that I remember seeing where Orianna, it was a major IEM match, and Orianna was picked and literally by herself kept an entire team from being able to do Baron. And that was because she had the range from anywhere to throw her ball around and kept poking and doing damage and poking and doing damage. And it was, I really think, because the range nerf came out almost immediately after that happened, and I was like, you could see it coming because of how much control she had, both in her range from her ball, giving her vision in certain spots, but also being able to just do damage in such a wide area that it was almost like it was coming.
So, this talk, it's been going on for quite a while, and we have a few minutes left in the podcast. I wanted to try to get one more topic in here really quick, and I want Ranhert to read through this because this email has been sitting here for about a month.
All right, so email says, hey, Trinity Force team, huge fan of the show. I had a quick question concerning defensive stats in the game, like health, armor, and magic resist. And he says, unlike Ranhert, who can build 6 death caps, tower dive, and hope that his flash is up, all while carrying his team, the rest of us mortals need to build some sort of defense against opposing players. I was wondering if you consistently build any particular defensive items throughout your games independent of the opposing team's comp. Also, do you feel one of these 3 stats is stronger currently? Thanks for the insight and great shows. Sincerely, Orange Lion. I guess I'll start off. Orange Lion, thanks for all the talk. I rarely get 6 death caps, but I always tower dive and hope that my flash is up. And rarely while carrying the team, usually losing it for us. But, as far as defensive items are concerned, I really feel like, at least in the mid lane, at least that's what I'll talk about, but a lot of times I find that an early Negatron Cloak really goes a long way. So, I mean, not rush it, but if you're struggling a little bit, or like the other night in Optimus Tom's Battle Arena last night, I was playing mid lane. I was Ari against a Nidalee, and the Nidalee went AP Nidalee, and the spears, when they did land, were chunking me for about half health or a little bit more, and it was just too big because then I know I can't take another one, and I need to go back. So I bought an early Negatron Cloak, and then eventually did turn that into a Banshee's Veil. I think that goes a long way, especially because the Negatron Cloak can also turn into a Quicksilver Sash, which I think is a highly underrated item. You only see it really at high-level play, and you see it a lot at high-level play. But it's Quicksilver Sash is a really great item also against Morganas or anybody with a really hard CC that's targetable like that you can just get rid of it. Also, if you play Mundo or any champions that rely on health regen, in a very large capacity using like an ult or another spell, then you can Quicksilver Sash out of ignites or exhausts that could severely hinder your champion in doing damage or surviving and getting away. So those 2 really stand out for me, Quicksilver Sash and Banshee's Veil. I do buy them a lot. I wouldn't say I buy them every game. The nature of playing an AP mid is that if you're ahead by so much, then you want to continue to build damaging items until a certain point you may want to buy a defensive item. But if you're so far ahead of everyone else, then you're gonna be doing a lot of damage, and you want to continue to snowball off of that. But for me, those are the 2 defensive items that come to mind for me. Anyone else?
I will go with this applies to. I've been playing a lot of jungle. I play a lot of jungle, obviously, but I do play a lot of top lane recently. And every time I see a double AP opposition comp, whether it's a Vladimir Kennen and they're going to build Will of the Ancients, or some other combination where you could see them building Will of the Ancients, especially, I find myself building a Wit's End. This is on a Malphite build or an Udyr build, but I find that Wit's End really, because of the MR to go with the attack speed, really helps me out, especially as an early game item. This is definitely true in a lot of phases, but using that early MR plus the attack speed just gives me a significant difference. And then the other one that I'm going to say is so prevalent, and it's prevalent in a lot of my builds, even when I play support, well, especially when I play support, but also on characters like Malachi, and that's gold per 5. I just think that if you can get a gold per 5 early on a lot of different champions, you get the base stats as it is, but the advantage of how much gold you actually accumulate by the end of the game can be really significant, especially if the game is going to last 40 or 45 minutes. And a lot of lower games do, whereas higher games don't last necessarily. Higher elo games last that long. I will say lower games do, and gold per 5 really can make a difference for you in the end.
Yeah, I'm going to join in with the gold per 5 talk. I see a lot of top lanes get dominated, and they try to farm against the top lane or the top champs is dominating them. And they don't buy the gold per 5 or gold per 10 items. And it's such a huge step for anybody to pick up that is losing a lane or in a jungle. If they're spending more time ganking than they are actually farming those gold per 10 items, they're going to make up a lot of ground that you may have missed before. But speaking of just defensive items in general, I like Negatron Cloak and Chain Vest. And just the bare basics, because that extra armor or extra